So this is completely a come as you are event. And you can close your eyes if that helps you become aware of the internal qualities that I'll point to. You can also leave your eyes open if that's more comfortable for you. But I find that closing my eyes actually makes perception, interior perception, become more clear. So either way, just take a moment to settle on your seat. Is there anything that you can do that would help you enjoy yourself more right now? Anything that would help you breathe more fully or be more physically or emotionally comfortable? I strongly encourage you to do anything that helps you feel free in yourself. My pointers are going to be so much about freedom, freedom of perception, freedom to feel what's true, freedom to heal, freedom to emerge from fixed positions, freedom to take life in more fully and to resist life less. And the way that we're going to go about doing this is by a pretty subtle modulation of perception. And that makes it sound so fancy, but it's actually very simple and practical. Let's begin by noticing the way in which you are already perceiving right now. We're just going to take inventory. Not just what are you noticing, but for the purposes of this conversation, it's actually equally important to know, where are you perceiving from? And I recognize that that sounds a little wacky sometimes, but just hold it very lightly and know that my hypothesis, which I invite you to share, is that the place where you perceive from bodily is meaningful. It matters where you are residing in space as you sense and notice and feel and see and know. It matters where you're observing from. And for most people, for whatever reason, probably cultural, we tend to perceive from higher up, from behind the eyes, even from a place suspended above the body. And this comes so naturally that we don't even realize we're doing it. So I'll be quiet for a moment now, and you get a sense of where you're listening from, where you're seeing from at this moment. And don't try to change it. It's even more important just to get familiar with what comes naturally to you. And I'm going to be guiding you in sensing from a particular place that's not so high up, a place at the back of the heart. And I propose to you that there are essentially two approaches to finding this spot. The first one is to work your way there, and the second one is simply to go there. So, just in case it happens to be really easy for you, or you've already practiced this and you're familiar with this spot, let's start by simply going to the back of the heart, just to notice what's possible for you. And the place that I'm pointing to is quite available in the field right now. It's a tiny bit to the right of the spine, in the back of the right atrium of the heart. It matters not at all whether you experience it anatomically. Just breathe and notice if awareness can effortlessly nestle into a spot at the back of the heart, the upper part of the heart, which is so far to the right that it actually comes a finger's width to the right of your spine. That's very good. So I can imagine that quite a few of you are residing here because it's kind of popping in awareness. But no worries, because as I mentioned, there's a second approach, which involves kind of dropping down and settling and looking around and exploring and feeling and investigating. So let's try that. If you notice that you're still suspended up, then you can begin to notice whether you can drop down. For example, can you rest awareness in your chin? Can you feel your chin from within your chin? Good. Or the back of your nose, your chin, behind your mouth. Can you shine a light around the inside of your throat? Great. So already you're beginning to notice, is information coming in for you more visually, more kinesthetically? What's available to the instrument of your body? What kind of tune does it like to play? What sounds does it receive? What images? The difference between the chin and places along the deep core is that when you settle awareness in your chin or your elbow, you're most likely just to get a sense of what it's like in that particular local spot. But when you allow yourself to receive information in your throat or in your heart, these are more like satellites. They can receive information and they can transmit information. Places along the core of the body are like mini organs of perception, more like your eyes, that give you a sense of images and things outside your local system, your local organism. So, can awareness rest even further down now into the middle of your chest? Can you feel your chest from inside your chest? Can you feel your heart beating? Can you feel your breath expanding the lungs and the softening as you breathe out? Can you open up the interior of your body, in other words, saturating your internal space with awareness, with perception? So we've just come down into the cavity of the chest. But you know, for some people, it's weirdly, or not weirdly, but it's interestingly, compellingly easier to come up from the pelvis. So if coming down was not your thing, can you draw awareness down into your belly or your pelvis and then rise up toward the solar plexus through the diaphragm up into the heart? Just noticing how permeable these spaces are. And if you're not aware of the specific parts of the body, that could actually be a positive thing, because all of the body parts may be coalesced into one seamless whole. So don't get too hung up on the particulars. Just sense regionally into what I'm revealing or sharing. And start noticing what it's like for you, because that's really the only thing that's important, is that you notice what it's like for you. So we've come down, we've traveled up, but there are other approaches as well. Often it's handy to come in through the back, because the spot that we're looking for is so close to the back wall of the body that it's a nifty trick to start behind the heart, behind the body, and come in through the back. And you're there very quickly. Good. So no matter which approach you're choosing, and you may want to play with them all, because this may be completely inaccessible to you for the first little bit. You may need to practice a little bit. But no matter which approach you've tried, coming down, coming up, drawing awareness in from the back, or simply landing in this mysterious place at the back of the heart, whichever way you've tried or whichever way is working for you. Now, the kicker is that what's important isn't actually the place, it's the function of the place. So it doesn't actually matter if you become aware of this place as a place at all. It only matters if you have the joy of experiencing the fruits of bringing awareness to this place. So we're interested in a function, and the function is we're interested in a holistic shift of perception. And I'm going to grope toward this shift using words, but it's much more important that you play around with it yourself. Just very practically, very simply, allow awareness to explore the back area of the top of your heart, or that region, and notice what you notice. And what we're looking for is a particular quality of noticing. And if my words actually bring you out of the experience, it's even more important that you just stay with the experience. So, what does this back of the heart place make happen? Why is it compelling, even riveting, to drop awareness there? It's a very soft and subtle place, even blurry. And it's in this place that your local individual self, your body, your mind, your personal emotions, your life activity, you as an individual intersect with the global, the whole. You as a part, as a cog in the wheel, you can meet the whole at this swinging door at the back of your heart. You can toggle between you as someone who knows, who perceives, who's living through the vehicle of your personal reality. That individual you meets up with the one, the unmanifest, the infinite, the love, the stillness, unified being. It's all available from this mesmerizing place, which is not so much a place as access to bothness, a swinging door between form and formlessness. Good. Now, here's the thing, it sounds so grand, but it's very simple. It can be so subtle that you may not even be aware that you're knowing from there or knowing in that way, because it doesn't feel special necessarily, but you become aware of things that may seem uncanny or unusual. You've experienced them in a very effortless way. Because when you drop awareness into the place of everythingness, of oneness, of unity, that arena is awareness itself. I'll say that again. When we're aware from the back of the heart, it's awareness itself that's looking through and seeing the world and seeing the self, seeing all the things, the 10,000 things, as they say. It's awareness that's seeing, and awareness is aware of more than my individual person, body, mind is aware of. And that's why you can know so much when you look from awareness. You're looking from the place that doesn't separate. So let me be quiet for a couple minutes now and let you play with this. You're looking for a sense that something has engaged that may be atypical, a different way, a different quality of perception that may be blurrier and less sharp than your ordinary state of perception. but you're making no effort to perceive. It's happening on its own. You don't have to do anything. You're just a satellite dish that's receiving. You're a photographic negative, and the light is striking you as the plate. Do you know what I mean? All you do is you unwaveringly rest awareness at the back of your heart. And don't forget to breathe. The thing that can be so confusing is that I'm naming a spot, but the back of the heart represents freedom of perception. And so you're not looking to fix awareness in a particular spot. You're looking for the spot that gives access to all spots. You're looking for the part of the body that best embodies the whole. It's very confusing to the mind, right? So sense the interior of your body and sense the spaciousness both within and around your body. Good. Good. Because the whole includes the body, it saturates the body, and that it includes everything that the mind ordinarily projects as outside. But here we're at the very transition between inside and outside. It's the place from which there is no outside. And so you may be aware of absolutely nothing, which is the stillness, the emptiness that you back up into through the back of your heart. It may be simply darkness, velvety blackness. So you may be aware of that nothingness, or you may be aware of activity. Perhaps you're attuning to subtle motions or inner images, colors washing through, sirens outside, heart beating, breath, itching, joy, all of the things. And what's magical about this location is that it toggles between, it gives you access to both the activity and the formlessness. That's really good. stay in this direction here. Good. So your job description here is to simply practice sensing, allowing awareness to rest at the back of the heart and noticing what is felt, what is heard, what is known, what is seen. You're just practicing noticing the sensory perceptions that are being picked up by awareness. And you're practicing not being a someone who's doing the listening and the hearing and the feeling and the recognizing. You're practicing dropping back into that which is knowing. You could even ask the question, what is hearing through my ears? What is knowing through the back of the heart? Good. You're dipping into the ocean that underlies the wave. If your body is the wave, this practice is drawing us inexorably down into the ocean that underlies the wave. And you can feel how there's more power there to move the water. There's more stillness and deep quietude. And it's deceptively calm, undifferentiated, and completely unified with the wave. So until the bell rings, please cultivate whichever aspect of these practices feels meaningful to you now, today. Perhaps returning awareness repeatedly to the back of the heart. Or if that part feels effortless to you, then simply be with whatever is known and go toward the yes. Whatever feels yummy or good or um, charged in a positive way, whatever has the flavor of calm, healing, subtle perception, or you could even say true nature. Let yourself rest in that and make it very easy. If the easiest thing for you is just to ask, what is heard? What is seen? What is known? And then get less interested in what is known as a thing and more interested in the feeling of knowing. Does that make sense? Practice being a satellite dish. Practice making no effort and simply allowing the perceptions that come into your satellite dish to be known. And the stillness itself might be what is most apparent to some of you. And in that case, there's absolutely nothing to do. Just enjoy resting in the ocean of stillness. Thank you so much, everyone. So take a minute or an hour. I guess I just want to say that so much of this practice is not just to practice it on our meditation cushion, but to actually bring it out into the world. I mean, that's really the whole point in me sharing it, is that this has a huge impact on how we love and how we heal and how we know and how we act. It has real repercussions when you come from this place. And so, first, I was going to say, oh, feel free to stay in a meditative state, which is true. But I also encourage you, at least over time, to practice maintaining this quality of heart perception with your eyes open, acting in the world. I would say it took me about 5 years. so, so listen to your own needs today and now, and feel completely free to stay right as you are with eyes closed. But if any of you would like to share your experience or ask a question or open a topic of conversation with this group, there is so much wisdom here, and I'm really excited to see all of you. Many of you I know, and some of you are new to me. So please feel free to introduce yourself and share anything. I think the way to do that is to raise your hand and form a kind of line. And if you click on reactions at the bottom of your screen, there's um, there's a symbol that says raise hand, like this, at the bottom of the options. So raise your electronic hand if you have anything to share. And hopefully, as a group, we can listen deeply and find some answers. And if you prefer to type your comment into the chat, my friend Chris will alert me. Hi, Nico. Would you like to get us started? Oh, you have to unmute yourself too. Nico, I know that we can't see you. I forget why, but you told us earlier, but I can't hear you either. You're muted, actually. To unmute yourself, oh, you would know how to unmute yourself. You would unmute yourself probably at the bottom left of your screen. While Nico is unmuting himself, is there someone else that would like to offer some words? Christiane, hello.
Hello. So I'm definitely not new to meditation or even focusing on the heart, but I'm definitely new to this idea of going to the bottom of the heart. And your guidance today did give me the pathway there and the longing for a more visceral experience of it. the sensation that I experienced was very much like a waterfall behind me and blessing me. And it was just so nourishing,
Mm.
so cute.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Like a waterfall behind you and blessing you and nourishing you. I feel that you're invoking it now very
Mm,
well. Do you feel it right now?
mm,
Yeah. And the proof is really in the pudding with this work, um, in the sense that that is so undeniable right now, what you're invoking and bringing in. Um, it's your way of accessing this flood of nourishment,
mm,
which sustains us and heals us and evolves us. This spot really is magic, but sometimes the words feel so heady. It's hard to get from the words to the feeling. So I really appreciate that you are invoking the feeling so clearly and identifying it so clearly. I love that, this waterfall. And you're experiencing the waterfall as being behind you.
mhm.
Yeah, which is so clearly true. Oh, yummy. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. Mm. To be continued, I hope. You'll have to let me know how it goes.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad you were here. Hi, Martha. Nice to see you again.
Thank you. It's so nice to be with you again and with everyone. Um, I just wanted to share what I experienced in that there was a point where I sort of arrived, and it reminded me of the shift that happens in a BCST session when you wait and then you're present and then something happens. Um, I'm not aware of what made that shift or what at what point it happened, but the best part of the feeling that came with it was such a relief. um, just the feeling that I don't have to strive to be. It was so welcome. And one thing, there was a memory that came up of seminar 2 in the BCST modules, and where my teacher, Lauren Miller, was touching in when we were practicing, and she put her hand on the back of on my back, on where the back of my heart would be, and I felt her there, and I felt the warmth moving through my body and out my arms and through my hands, and the person I was touching felt it as well. And I've come back to that almost every time I do a session. It's That's sort of my gateway into this experience. I have continually thanked her for that, and I thank you for guiding us into this place. It's just so beautiful.
I couldn't agree more about the beauty. Thank you for
Mhm.
sharing that with us. I
Mhm.
love that you already came in with a touchstone
Mhm.
for the power of this place that's so much more than a place.
Mhm.
Um, what struck me about your description is that you didn't know what made the shift happen.
Mhm.
You were just aware of the relief of it having happened and
Mhm.
the easing of that sense of striving. that we all know so well, like, oh, I have to make an effort for something to happen, which is the
Yes.
kiss of death with this work, right? As any biodynamic practitioner knows. What I would, I mean, I would suggest this, but I'd love to hear from you about how it plays out. I mean, I only know you from these heart perception events, right? So I know that it's already meaningful to you in some way. But I would submit that the more you practice resting awareness in this spot, the not only will it, I mean, you're already saying it seems to happen every time you give a biodynamic session, but I'm really trying to loosen the edges of that. So the session is our whole life.
Right.
So if you practice resting at the back of your heart, then you're basically giving a session all the time and you're receiving a session all the time. And once it becomes more familiar to you, then you will start to have more reliable like you'll just get to know, like you'll have a more reliable access to it.
How to go there.
Like you'll basically end up living there, living from there, and maybe even dropping lower into the pelvis, which is definitely a part of this pathway to unify the whole midline.
Yes.
Which is that's a biodynamic word that some of you are aware of, but I've been calling it the core of us. Yeah, I just feel like you gave me so much to chew on. And awareness of what makes the shift possible is part of maintaining it more unwaveringly. So you already totally have the hang of it in your office. I'm assuming you're a practitioner from the way you're talking. So
yeah.
Office, you've set the parameters such that, okay, I'm moving from my heart. I have my teacher's, the memory of my teacher's hand on my back. That's like a kinesthetic memory of what I'm trying to achieve. And it blossoms from there. So I'm just really encouraging you to just take the clear felt sense that you clearly have of what it feels like and amp it up. Like when you're standing in line at the grocery store, when you're falling asleep,
Yes.
you're brushing your teeth, you know?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing these things in. I really appreciate it. Good to see you again.
You too. Thank you for letting me in at the last minute.
Katya, I thought I saw your electronic hand raised, and I would so love to hear from you that I'm putting you on the spot.
Hi, I'm sorry. This the thing keeps coming. I keep getting in and out, so I hope I can hear your answer. But anyway, what I wanted to say is thank you, but also, I'm an exceptionally like frustrated meditator. I usually, when I actually try to meditate, feel like I'm constantly battling my thoughts. But it's interesting because I've had, and I'm sure that's a matter of, well, I don't know what it's a matter of, but I assume part of it is that I'm not enough of a practitioner, so to speak. But I feel like I've had moments when I am with people where I can be in sort of this meditative experience where I feel like I really understand what's happening with them and can speak to them in a way that's more um, helpful somehow, or understand what they're saying in a way that's more clear. And I'm just wondering sort of what your thoughts are about the connection between meditation and sort of how you bring that to a therapeutic experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that question. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about that. Um, let me just form what I want to say. What's coming to me is how, I mean, you work with people who are exceptionally vulnerable and are often in acute crisis when they see you. And and you clearly have a felt sense of what I'm groping to talk about on this call. So it sounds like, and you can let me know if I'm right about this, but it sounds like when you're alone in your living room on a meditation cushion, you're battling your thoughts. But when life brings you to this precipice of working with someone in an acute crisis, you're fully absorbed in the moment. In yoga, they call it one pointedness, right? And this spot that I'm talking about here today is the place of ultimate one pointedness, because it's actually the hub of everything. It's the hub of our body, it's the hub of our life, and it's the hub of the cosmos. It's actually the central fulcrum from which life happens. And it turns out that the center of you is like that which centers you is the same thing. It's not a thing, but it's the stillness that centers you is the same stillness that centers your patient. And it is the same stillness that centers our galaxy. Like we're talking about the black hole at the center of Katya. And when you go into that void, that sense of ultimate presence, weirdly enough, you're an incredible companion for your patient. It diffuses their charge. It helps them feel connected to you, which I understand for some people that could actually feel threatening, but there are ways to allay that. So in terms of the therapeutic application, and also just the reason that what you're saying is true, the reason you understand what's happening to them and can talk to them, where you can be in what you're calling a meditative experience, because when you're grounded in that deep place of stillness, it's not just that they feel it and they entrain to it and that's nice. It's actually therapeutically potent, because you're landed in the place from which their healing can happen best, most efficaciously, the place within them. And they will entrain to that, they will connect to that. And you can just call it grounding in your body, or you can call it cultivating presence, or you could call it settling into the back of your heart. But it actually has extraordinary therapeutic application. It's really the basis of my practice. And it's how I know things, I register things that are happening in my client, because I'm in that place where I can perceive as though it's me. my body becomes a platform for kinesthetically and emotionally understanding someone else's experience. Let me pause there and just see how this is sitting with you. I can't tell if the language that I'm using even works for you. Oh, are you muted?
No, I'm not. No, it makes sense. It's thank you. I mean, I think what you're saying is true. I mean, I think I feel like that's true, not even like with a patient. I think that's true interpersonally, some and under certain circumstances. But I, I think I guess I'm struggling with like I feel like I need someone else there to sort of ground me. But if I'm trying to do it by myself, like I'm floating. But I guess maybe that's just how it is.
I don't think that it has to be like that, but I think sort of that's how you may be hooked up. And there may be reasons for that. I mean, we could certainly explore that. But like it's sort of like what I was saying to the woman before you about that she has set the parameters in her office such that she can stay absorbed in this way when she's operating professionally. That might be true for you too, and I bet it is. But whereas if you sit down on your cushion and you think, oh, I'm going to meditate now, or you're interacting with your parents or your son, and it's like charged relations. I mean, sorry, I don't mean to be outing you about anything in particular. I'm saying these things fairly randomly, but because I happen to know you. But like it may be that with certain people in your personal life, there are reasons why it's harder to stay grounded. And speaking from personal experience, like it's hardest to maintain my neutral with the people closest to me. It's hardest to reside unwaveringly in the stillness and, isn't this wonderful? Like it's hardest to give freedom to the people closest to me. And I think that's very common.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so happy you're here. Thank you so much for coming.
So happy to be here.
Yes. Good to see you, my friend. I'm glad you're here. What do you have for us?
Am I unmuted?
Yeah, thank you.
Good. Yeah, and nice to see you too, and everybody else. I was just keying off what Katya had just said about all of us trying to get out of our head when we're meditating. It seems like that's a piece that eluded me in some ways. And when I learned embryologically, when we're first formed and there's just sperm and an egg, that is the choreography of that is well known now and can be seen. If you look and see what's happening at the very start, there are little cells that are literally beating and pushing proteins into position. They push those proteins into the midline. Those beating cells are organizing you. This is going to become the heart. It's there long before the brain. The brain has nothing to do with it. Yet when we're meditating, what's in our way? What we see, what's outside of us, what our brain is doing, what we're thinking. So relinquishing all that outside noise by closing our eyes, by putting something on our ears, by going inward, allowing that space that already knows. Right now, you're made of about 50 trillion cells. There's billions of chemical reactions going on. Whatever you ate this morning is turning into a conscious being. This is mind-blowing. It's hardly the brain doing that. So going back to that initial setup where the heart is literally directing energy and knows how to do all of this, somehow you are turning organic foodstuffs into a living conscious being. That intelligence is just sitting there waiting to be used. So I use that when I'm busy thinking. I've just been outside, I was driving, I was getting things done, I was at the bank, some other thing, all these outside distractions. It's wonderful to be able to just drop inside into that space. It's not easy. I don't find it easy, but it's still always really great when it happens. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much. I love that. And you're giving me the opportunity to name the place that I've kind of I've been calling the back of the heart, but you could call it more literally the SA node of the heart, the sinoatrial node of the heart. And it's this microscopic part of the anatomy that literally instructs the heart to beat. It's what conveys the electrical charge that makes us be alive. So we're pretty close to the very essence of life. We're sort of backing up into the place from which life ignites. So I appreciate you bringing that in about the cells of the body. And it's always good to see you. Thank you so much for
Yep.
speaking. I really appreciate it. I'm wondering if Nico, are you still there? We never got to hear from Nico.
And his unmute button wasn't working. And so he just wanted to share with everyone that he had lots of quietness and stillness and peace. And that he went on to say, it's quite wonderful to be in a bigger space with no mind chatter and no time.
Beautiful. Oh, thanks, Nico. And Chris, are there any other comments on the chat that what would you like to share with us?
Raven just commented to Katya, she called it the hub without the hubbub, and wanted to validate Katya that she has a much easier time connecting to this space and experience when someone else is involved, whether it's a client, a friend, she's staying present with, etc. And Jenna shared several things that she's been aware of, becoming more aware of, is the link between the physical breath and the perceptual breath of awareness. The experiential awareness of biodynamics is so synchronistic with some principles of the postural restoration therapy, specifically bringing awareness to the back of the heart is the same location focused on in PRT. Once the postural left chest cavity can open and expand, then the breath has the freedom to unfold in its natural process using the diaphragm. Moreover, the most important piece is bringing your awareness here and not forcing, but witnessing what happens as the physical breath happens here. In PRT, simply expanding your visual awareness and peripheral vision and posterior proprioception signals the body that it can relax, almost like it's being held and is part of the space around it.
Wow. I'm going to have to listen to that again. That is just amazing. Does she say what NPRT stands for?
Yeah, it's a postural restoration therapy.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Jenna. Wow. Lots of information there. I'm going to have to pick your brain. Huh. Jenna. Oops. J-Ro.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I was just becoming much more aware for many reasons, I think, but I've been waking up really early and just sitting for hours in meditation and just noticing, and that as my awareness expands and what I'm learning through this guy who I see for postural restoration work is that there's really no separation between lots of different teachings out there. And I think it's sort of like, many truths, but that what I'm really understanding, at least on some level, still really confused most of the time, but as to be expected in this journey. But and just how much the softening of the focus, like the intention can be so strong to want to make something happen. And how the grappling with the intention and what can be a real specific agenda, and then the actual allowing things to be as they are, because there is still a wanting. And so what I've come to I don't know, I just started because I've been writing too and journaling, and just like the it's okay with the it's not being okay, and it's okay with being okay with everything. And so it's like it just keeps going. It's like it's okay that I'm obsessive compulsive. It's okay that I'm watching this. It's okay that I chose this. It's okay. And it's like it takes me, there's so many perfectionistic tendencies that I've had and still notice, but making that, like letting that all be as it is. And I'm noticing that as soon as because it takes me out of that struggle or the fight with reality all the time. And that as I'm gradually hitting different levels of okayness, that it just starts to soften. Like things just start to soften without me trying to make anything happen. Because I think it's such a tricky place to be, in a place of like, you know, what do we call our healers or facilitators of well-being? We have an intention. Sometimes we even have an agenda. But even being okay with that, and as soon as I allow myself to be okay with the fact that I have an intention in that moment, or I notice an agenda coming, then it's just like I'm able to see like where that's coming from, which allows it to just kind of be, which then allows it to just kind of sort of go wherever it needs to go. So there's no, and it's a really different way of being in the world. So say like nothing's changed and everything's changed, because it's not like I've changed, it's just that my way of being in the world is slowly shifting. And therefore, even things that I wasn't seeing, like physically, actually with my visual field seeing, I'm actually seeing more, if that makes sense, or taking in more around me, like visually, not just like proprioceptively. And with each step, there's like, oh, and then there's more, and then there's more, and then there's more. And releasing the sense of getting it done, or coming to a place of like, oh, I have to get this done, because that's another theme that comes up for me, not being comfortable with things being left undone. Like whether it be in my physical space, like I have to do the dishes right now to make sure they're all clean. But being okay with that piece of me as well that wants things to get done. And so it's just, to me, and it's bringing out a lot more playfulness and creativity, and just a sense of wonder and awe, and the release from things needing to be a certain way. And even when I feel like they have to be a certain way, being okay with that. It's just, there's so many, and that's all I can say, because I don't even really know how else to describe the small, and it's so subtle, but it's so glacial. It's like this big glacier, and it's slow, and it's like moving. It's not like these huge, it's not like my brain gets burst in this like moment of epiphany and I see the light, and it's this subtle means that has this profound like effect, if that makes any sense. But so anyway, yeah, so I'm just noticing how it is really all connected. And there's one thing to say that, and just another thing to feel it on an experiential level. And that's what I feel like I'm dropping down into, this level of awareness, where it's like, what I know to be true here is hitting me here, and it's hitting me lower. So it's like what I say to myself, which there's always that lingering doubt about the truth of whatever it is that I'm experiencing, but even embracing the doubt.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that word in. Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, the amazing thing about this spot is that it's both and. And so we don't need to make the mini me go away. We don't need to make our neuroses go away. We don't need to make our compulsions go away. We don't even need to make effort go away. Because if we try to push it away, that's excluding it from the whole. And this is the place of making wholes. So I love what you brought in, Jenna. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad that you named the playfulness and the wonder and the awe and the creativity. I mean, I've had a lot of artists take my workshops because this is actually the source of creativity. It's the place that generates life, but it's also the place that generates form. And so artists are working with generating form. So it's beautiful what you named. And I love what you said about the okayness. This is like the place of it's okay. If I had to condense this entire experience today into one phrase, it would be, it's okay. Because this is the place that actually recognizes that no matter how crappy things are, it's okay. And it doesn't mean that we don't fight like hell to make things better. But again, we don't have to be in this more assertive approach of trying to make it happen from our limited fixed position. And it's basically a way of busting open the boundaries of what a body is and what a mind is. Because it's saying, I don't have to live from this fixed position. There are so many other perspectives and positions that are available to me. That's what creativity is. That's what breathing out into the, I'm going to have to study how you expressed it around breathing, but it's like being in an ecosystem where your breath is interpenetrating with the ecology around you. And so the trees are taking in our out breath, and we're taking in the oxygen from all of the green life and the planet. The breath is fundamental to biodynamic work, as many of the people on this call actively work with. The subtle breath, which brings life in, which animates matter, and which organizes form. That's primary respiration, is what we call it in biodynamics. So your comments, Jenna, were just so wide ranging. I really appreciate you bringing them in, and you're bringing your brilliance here. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work. Is that Julie? Hi, nice to see you.
Hi, bonjour.
Bonjour.
I think I don't know if I have a ton to add, but piggybacking on some of the things that Jenna's just said, and I've been on a pretty profound transformative healing journey this past year, focused more on the lower chakras and lower parts of the bodies, and now bringing that to the heart. What I'm finding is that it's such a process of acceptance. And for me, it's kind of like what Jenna was saying, is like really accepting all of the emotions, and not fighting them and letting them be what they are. And the less I fight and the more curious I am about them and the range of experience, that there's no one right way to do this, to be as a human in this body, I'm finding greater ease on each day, with each day, instead of being caught up in the, I'm not doing this right, and my mind is chattering away, and I'm broken, I just can't do this. I'm now looking forward to when I'm able to sit, which I don't do every day, but when I do, I'm starting to really experience a sense of grace, and it's almost a relief to just drop the chatter. Like, just an enormous relief to go to that safe space of not having to think so hard. And that's not to say that some days my brain is just going, but even then there's you know, I guess I want to say is that I'm just seeing how much of a process this is, and that, you know, from coming from a place of feeling like I have no idea how to sit and meditate, I have no idea how to be in my heart, to finding that I am capable of doing that, and that it is a source of joy and ease and rest that is always there, and that it's possible to tap into it. So I'm not sure what else I have to add, but I'm really grateful to be here and to be able to join you and in my hotel room in Quebec City. And yeah,
I'm
that's
glad
about
you're
it.
here. Thank you so much. And it's really good. I haven't seen you in so long. It's really good to know that you're doing well.
Yeah, I am.
Thanks, Jules. Anyone else? Or is there anybody who didn't get it at all and you would either like some support or you would like me to actually lend some reinforcement for you finding the spot? Is there anyone that wants some mentoring around that? Okay. Any last questions or comments?
There was one more comment in the chat, Jenna, from Elizabeth, and she said, "Thank you for this beautiful experience. I'm taken by the remapping that occurred for me, the resituating of how I was visualizing the back of my heart versus where it actually is, allowing my heart to expand to the right of my spine where it actually is was also metaphoric in this moment. It can take up more space. Its wisdom can take up more space and attention."
How beautiful. Thank you, Elizabeth. Well, I would like to just say something from my own heart, which is that I think a bunch of years ago, I would not have given this topic the respect that it deserves. And there's something in our culture around the heart that seems kind of sentimental and hokey. And I feel the what is the right word? Like with you all, I feel the great respect that the way that you're leaning into this topic, which in my experience, it deserves and more. Like the world is calling for this. And the opportunity to not feel separate from the world is really the only thing that can save the world. You know, if we don't feel connected to others, to other beings, to other people, animals, and the planet, how are things going to change? So to me, this feels like the absolute essential underpinning of what it means to really help. We haven't had that discussion in this forum, but I think there's a lot of really misguided notions that I myself participate in when I can't catch myself around what it means to help someone and what it means to make change happen. And what I find is that when I live from this place that's not really a place, but it's like the place that Jero was talking about, Jenna, as as the place of it's okay, and what I was talking about earlier as the place of freedom. Like I can see better which step to take when I'm seated in this place at the back of the heart. It allows me to see the way forward in a way that isn't as corrupted by my ideas about what needs to happen and what's wrong with the world and what's wrong with you and what, you know, fill in the blanks, you know, or my misguided notions of who I am, like that I doubt myself or I'm insecure, or I'm not good enough. Whatever your fixed beliefs and positions are, this is a place that's going to bust that wide open. It's going to stretch the envelope. And I'm speaking from very much from personal experience, because I feel like when I come from the back of the heart, I'm more myself, but I'm also less driven by the negativity and smallness of who I think I am. Does that make sense? Yeah, so I just feel immensely privileged by the fact that so many people, so that you are interested in this, that you find it compelling enough to put aside part of your weekend to practice this. And I hope like hell that you take it out into the world and onto your meditation mat. Both. So give it to yourself, give it to yourself as a session. It's nourishment, like the woman that was talking about the waterfall that was saturating her and feeding her. Christiane, thank you so much for that image. This is a fountain of well-being and juiciness and healing that is available at every moment, but it's not really available when we come from the homunculus behind our eyes, because when we look at things from here, we separate ourselves from what we know. It's only when we drop into the territory of the body and the heart that we connect inherently with what is known. So all that to say, thank you very much. Did I see a question somewhere? Well, Chris, help me out.
Yes. Martha wanted to know if you could say a little bit about your upcoming class.
Oh, what is my upcoming class? Oh, well, Martha, I don't know if you know about this, but May 9th through 12th, I am teaching a 4-day workshop in Ithaca, New York, about the whole map of biodynamics. But the whole first day is very much about the heart, the SA node, heart perception, the midline, the neutral, because this is the disposition of a biodynamic practitioner and an optimized human being. Can you tell if that's the class she was asking about? Are you there, Martha?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I did not know about that class, so thank you. That I'm very interested in that. So, so apparently that's why I asked the question.
I'd be really glad to have you there, and anybody here. You're welcome
Thank
at everything I offer, and I'm a very responsive teacher, so I tend to respond to what you want. So if there's something you want, then please let me know so I can offer it, because I may not know yet that I need to offer it. And I also offer, or I don't really offer them, but they happen, these amazing 40-minute silent meditations followed by 50 minutes of talking about our experience. And there's different variations of them. Some happen online, some in person. Some of you are participants in those, and everyone here is welcome. Wow, that went really quick. I can't believe I need to release you to bringing this heart energy into your world. Much, much love to all of you. Thank you so very much for being here, for your questions and comments and palpable heart energy. To be continued. Love you all. Bye.